And lastly, we connect them. So we may have a lot of people dealing with kids who come. We have a lot of kids who come from Asia, from China, from Korea, from Singapore, whatever. So people in the system who are dealing with those challenges get together and they socially network. And we put a massive amount of resource on here. So if people are worried about how you're dealing with teaching Pythagorean theorem, it's just a click. You want lesson plans on various things, just a click. This thing has transformed our system. Our teachers who were initially reluctant and said you can't reduce a kid to a number are now online working in inquiry teams, doing it and connecting with each other to make sure they're learning. And our parents, over 250,000 parents, have used ARIS Parent Link as a way to find out. And I tell them before your student-teacher meetings, go on here, find out in detail how your kid is doing, and then go ask your teacher about it. That replaces the kind of discussion that says, how's my kid doing? He's doing fine, next. And so we've deepened everyone's knowledge of the system. This is the kind of report you get. It's far too detailed and busy for me to explain it. Acuity are the tests that we administer, then you get the state tests that we give out, the attendance. You look at acuity, you can see on, let's say there are 13 skills you need to do to be a proficient fourth grade reader. Let's say one is context clues, one is basic comprehension, one is main ideas. This will tell you how the kid is doing, whether she's moving forward, moving back. As I said, if you want to click on this guy, Lee Jacobs or whatever, you can go back and see how he did in the third grade, the fourth grade, whatever you want to learn. It's all here and all clickable. We can filter by students, current English language learners, former English language learners. It's broken down in so many multiples of ways to make it user-friendly for our teachers. And yes, we have real rewards and consequences for this system. So without going into detail, a principal who gets a high grade can get up to $25,000 in bonus for a year. And in a pensionable system like we have, that's a lot of money. We've created a deal with the teachers union for our highest needs schools, and they can get up to $3,000 per teacher. So if you have 100 teachers, $300,000, and then a 4-member compensation committee decides, 2 teachers, 2 administrators, how to distribute that. That's one of the earliest pay-for-performance systems. I'd like to see a lot more of it. But it's really working and incentivizing and rewarding good results. And there's also real consequences. If you get a D and an F on your progress report, we've often had to change leaders and, in addition, close schools. I've closed 90 schools, the most challenging thing I've had to do, and replace them, and I'll show you how we replaced them. We're making tenure much more rigorous, and we're providing additional supports to our principals to make sure that those teachers who, after we support them, give them the professional development, don't perform, get removed from the system. All of these things are controversial, but I submit ultimately essential. And as I said at the outset, all of these things were done to improve the quality of instruction in our system. When we started, many of our teachers, like 13%, weren't certified. Today they are all certified. The mayor has raised teacher salaries by 43 points over 8 years. That's attracted lots of new, exciting second career, young college kids, kids who come and are really willing to push the envelope in our system. We've eliminated this whole thing of forced transfers and bumping based on seniority, so my schools and their principals can now select their teams. We have a program where if you're a great teacher, we pay you extra to go to a high poverty community and do the work there. It's a lead teacher program. 2 teachers go as a team, $10,000 each. We went out and competed in our shortage areas, things like English language learners, special ed, math and science. We'll give you a 3-year, $15,000 signing bonus. We've brought people in through that. Class size lowers at every year. And we now have, contrary to when we started, 5 applicants for every vacancy. One of the things I'm most proud of is an independent study in 2008 said the teacher quality gap between our lowest and highest poverty schools has narrowed significantly during the last decade, largely due to the hiring of more successful, newer teachers. That's a big accomplishment and at the core of what I think transformation is about. Now, this will get more controversial, but I think we've got to get there, and that is real teacher accountability. Incentives for those areas where we're underserved, such as math, science, and special ed, we've got to pay difference different wages to people to attract them, and that's critical. We've got to have a meaningful, and we're developing a 4-tier evaluation for teachers, starting with highly effective, then minimally effective, then ineffective, based on a combination of teacher value added, which I'll talk about in a second, peer reviews, and principal reviews. Very robust and transparent, but we're going to take this seriously. We're working with our union and with our state regulators on this system, and we want to make that transparent. We want to continue to give rewards and bonuses for those who are doing great work. Until teaching becomes a real profession where merit is rewarded and non-performance has consequences, we will not succeed. Our professional development is aligned. It's aligned with the work that we're doing in terms of our accountability system. We know where our teachers' strengths are. We know also where they need additional effort, so we target it. We don't send everybody to one class to learn about math. And yes, we're prepared to dismiss teachers for non-performance after they've had an opportunity to improve. But we don't view tenure as literally meaning you can stay for life when you don't perform. A lot of this work is built on our teacher data reports. And again, I don't want to go into great detail, but what this looks at the school level, exactly what I was talking about, at the teacher level, what I talked about at the school level. So I look not at the absolute result, because if I screen a school based on an admissions test and put in high-performing kids, all of those teachers will get high-performing results. But if I look at progress, what I see is very different things. So I have a scale of 4 on our test scale, and I look at year-to-year progress. And let's just say 2 teachers have a class of 28, and each of those teachers starts with an average of 2.3 out of 4. One of them moves to 2.6, one of them moves to 2.2. That is dramatic. Over 5 years, that would influence graduation rates by 30 to 35% in our school system. And so when I see that year after year after year, I measure it with very sophisticated metrics, with the most sophisticated universities help us design this thing. And basically, this thing points out the teachers shown in the chart above, 34 students, her value-added score. The prior proficiency rating of these students was 3.1. They scored a 3.52 on average on the next test. Across the city, similar to these students, scored a 3.33. So she had a 3.52, 3.33. Her value add is that differential. We want lots of this teacher in our system. We want to reward her. We want to keep her. And if we have this at a 95%, as I said, confidence level. If she does it for 1 year, we're excited. If she does it for 2 years, we're exhilarated. If she does it for 3 years, we're going to clone her. So that's what this whole thing is all about, and it shows our teachers and their principals where they fit in the system, where their strengths are, and basically how to move them forward. The other form of accountability, which I know Jerusalem certainly has been talking about, is accountability to the people we're supposed to serve, our parents and students. In New York City, 3/4 of our system when I got there was simply told you had one school, and if you didn't like it, tough. And of course, if you were middle class or affluent, you could opt out. But if you were poor, you took what you got or nothing. The mayor and I believe in customer accountability. That's why the first thing we did, we distribute funds on a per pupil basis on a weighted student formula. So if you have special needs or an English language learner, you get additional dollars. If you're a kid who comes from high poverty or a low performing kid, additional dollars. But the key is the dollars follow the kid to the school. So in a public school choice system, which we have for all of our high schools, if you go to one school, let's just say your overall dollar value is $12,000, you bring that $12,000 to PS11. If you go to another school, you bring $12,000 to PS12. So our schools know competing, and particularly competing for the high needs kids who bring additional dollars, will mean they'll have stronger budgets.